Hey, welcome back to another devlog. So yeah, it's been quite a while. Do you even still know who I am? I guess I should reintroduce myself. So I'm Martino and I run the game studio Aimtorn Games, a one-man studio. I made the game SpiritSphere DX that you see here right behind me. Retro game inspired by Game Boy RPGs and Pong and air hockey. Go check that out, it's on Nintendo Switch. There's a physical release actually, so you can get a nice little game box. But yeah, I'm here to tell you all about my new project. It's gonna be a really cool game inspired by anime. But first let's talk, where have I been? I think it's been 3 years. So I think in the last video you could see me talk about my hands. I have some problem with my hands. I'm still not sure what it is. My hands are very weak. I actually cannot play games anymore since the last 3 years. So I was like, if I cannot play games, how can I make games? I'll do something else. So I traveled a lot, did a lot of freelance pixel art work. I can still kind of draw using this pen. Yeah, this pen is my is my savior. But yeah, I just miss it so much making games. Making games is really what I'm meant to do, where I can put all my creativity, creating a world, creating characters. Yeah, I just love games. I grew up making games, so I just miss it too much, and I'm gonna give it another try. So yeah, I guess Beethoven, he couldn't hear anymore, but he could play the piano, so I guess I'll be the Beethoven of game development. I'll try making games while I cannot play them. Let's follow along on my journey, see if that works out. So enough talking. Let's show you the game. So here we are in one of my editing programs for pixel art tile maps. This is Pixel Edit. I also use Sprite. Here it is, to make all my art, and yeah, that's where my ideas start in an editor. I try to sketch out my ideas, and this idea is actually quite old. This is already from more than 8 years ago. It's a game inspired by anime, and mostly by Dragon Ball, which is what I used to watch as a child, and I loved it so much. Watching Goku fly and shoot balls, and yeah, who doesn't love that? Kamehameha, all that stuff. And yeah, there are some Dragon Ball games, but you don't really have the freedom of flying around, and yeah, I wanted to capture that kind of freedom. So actually already 8 years ago I made a game jam game. You know what, I'm just gonna show you. So here it is, Martina Willems, that's me, an old version of me. And yeah, let's play this. Ooh, that doesn't look that doesn't look very good, but yeah, here we have the player, and you can jump and you can shoot. There's a timer playing, which is quite annoying, but yeah, this was a game jam game made in 48 hours, inspired by Dragon Ball. And I think you can fly. Yeah, so you can fly like this, and yeah, it feels quite nice to fly like this. I think you can also shoot, and yeah, you were supposed to hit the targets, and it's just nice to fly around, to feel free like this, and do some somersaults and shoot and fly and charge. Oh, you can charge more strongly. I didn't remember that. It's already 8 years old. Yeah, actually, it looks like shit, but it feels quite nice. So yeah, this is one of the ideas I had 8 years ago, and I guess a few years later, yeah, I wanted to do more with this game jam game. So yeah, I started working on it again. So here it is. You can see the art style is a little bit better. My art improved a little bit over the, I guess must have been like 5 years. So I tried making the game again, and this time in my own engine. And yeah, you can see you can do the same things. You can shoot, and yeah, I think it doesn't completely work. The animations look a little bit funky, but you get the point. And let's see, you can charge, and oh yeah, you could shoot a Kamehameha this time. That's kind of cool. And yeah, you can fly as well. And you can see it all costs energy. Let's shoot that Kamehameha again. Yeah, that's pretty badass, isn't it? And yeah, you can fly around. And if you release it, you do the somersaults, just like in the first prototype. And yeah, it looks a little bit better, but I think around this time I had to give up on this prototype, and I think I worked on Carry Me Melody, a different game, which I never got to finish because of my damn hands. It's very frustrating, but oh well, gonna give it another try now. So let's see what I made now. So here we are back in Pixel Edit, and yeah, my art once again improved. Let's take a little look at the character. He's very familiar. His name is Kugo. Yeah, I think it's very familiar, but I always carry my inspirations on my sleeve. I'm always someone who gets very inspired by the things around me, and yeah, you can see it here. And the next characters are also maybe a little bit less familiar, but you will recognize them. They are all inspired by shonen anime. I cannot play games anymore, but I can still watch. My eyes are still fine for now, so I watch a lot of anime since I cannot play games, and yeah, I want to put all my anime love into the game. So yeah, this is the first mock-up I made, and it's pretty cool, but this is not, it doesn't feel like a first stage, so I wanted to make the first stage of the game, which is Monkey Mountain. And this is where our little monkey friend, Kugo, is from. This is where he lives. It's actually inspired by a region in Ethiopia where there are vegan monkeys. Very cool. And our little friend Kugo here is very aware of the environment, so he's a vegetarian. That kind of ties into the story. And yeah, I think it looks pretty good. I'm very happy with this. I think this is some of the best pixel art that I've made. So we have Kugo here, and he's charging up his Kamehameha. And he has a little other guy with him here. Who's that? Shall I spoil that? Maybe not yet. Maybe that's too early. I should keep you guys curious. And there's a grave here. Wonder what that's all about. There's some placeholder enemies right here, and some energy crystals here. So yeah, that's the art, that's the idea. You saw the flying around, shooting. So yeah, you're gonna defeat enemies in this game, not just static targets, enemies. And I actually want to make this a single screen game. I don't want a camera to follow you. I like single screen games, especially for multiplayer, because of course you're gonna be able to battle your friends in this game. And yeah, let's head into the game engine and see what I cooked up so far in the last month. So here we are inside the game, and yeah, it basically took me a month to recreate a prototype that I made in 48 hours. I think yeah, that has something to do with my hands. I just have gotten so slow. But all right, we're here, and I'll show you what I got so far. So you can charge, and you can shoot. You can shoot in 8 directions, very fancy, and jump, of course. And let's see, shoot the beam, and that's where I made a really cool adjustment. You can actually curve the beam, and I think that will really add some cool possibilities. So let's see, we can fly, of course, so we can fly to this island. And then let's say there's an enemy down there. Let's charge up our meter, and then we can shoot the enemy down here. And yeah, I think that will be really cool, especially when there's going to be a row of enemies, and you can kind of like curve the beam to hit the enemies in a combo, because that's going to be very important in the game. It's going to be all about combos. So yeah, as you make combos, you can level up your characters. So we can just shoot a single ball right now, but maybe if you kill enough enemies, make a lot of combos, you can level up. Maybe you will shoot, I don't know, 2 balls at the same time, or a bigger ball. Maybe the beam will become wider. And that's my idea for the game. Yeah, you're basically always on the run to make a big combo, to have a big combo running, and as long as you have this combo you will be extra powerful, and that way you're always chasing a combo, there's always action. I'm not sure if it's a good idea to make an action-packed game because my hands get very tired from action-packed games. I can only play Smash Brothers for like 30 seconds, then my hands are just my hands are finished, my hands are so tired. So not really the smartest idea to make an action-packed game, but it's what I feel inspired to do. I've been watching a lot of anime since I cannot play games. I just watch anime instead, and I feel very inspired, so let's go for it. So let's take a little look here in the scene. So there is the world, and there's our little friend Kugel, and yeah, the stage is made with tiles, as you can see, and everything is in layers. And then for these mountains, it's kind of cool. I use the sprite shape, so yeah, you can see I kind of edited the mountains like this. Because it's quite an organic shape, it's kind of difficult to make that with tiles, so I thought, why not just use the sprite shape? And yeah, the important thing is that the camera has a pixel perfect camera, so the sprite shape still looks all pixely. Here, if we zoom in, you can see it blends in perfectly with the pixel art. That's quite important. Yeah, so that's the world, but let's take a look at our little friend Kugel. And you can see he has a lot of components. When I made my own engine, I use the entity component system, the entity component, I don't know, methodology, what do you call it? Something like that. So everything is in its own component. So jumping is in its component. Shooting, which is called the gun behavior, is in its own component. And yeah. So everything is separated from each other. So let's say I want to make an enemy that can shoot a ball, then I just add the gun component to it, and then it can shoot. Maybe the enemy should, I don't know, shoot the beam. Then I can add the beam component, and that way everything is very reusable and flexible. So yeah, I really like that about the entity component system. So let's look at one of the components. Maybe look at the beam component. So yeah, it can shoot, it can activate, it can deactivate. Maybe the flight component is better. Let's look at the flight component instead. So they are all activated skill behaviors, and yeah, we're going to be looking through a lot of code. So if you don't care about code, just skip through this part, but we're going to look at some code. So yeah, every skill has a few functions. Can activate. Can you actually use this skill? Then you can attempt to use the skill, and it sends out a message. So I made my own messaging system to communicate between components. It's inspired by NAS, really nice framework for a mono game. And then yeah, it attempts the message, but where does this message go? Well, then we get into the next part of how I organize things, and that's the state machine. So this is a plugin called Node Canvas. It's a really nice plugin. It was in one of the Humble bundles, so yeah, if you purchase one of the Humble bundles, take a look. You might already have it. So yeah, everything is its own state. So shooting the beam, aiming the beam is all its own state, and that way it's nice, because if you're aiming the beam and you suddenly get hit, yeah, things just can get very messy very quickly, because you cannot move when you charge the beam, but when you get hit, you get a little bit of hit stun, and after hit stun you can walk. So it's quite easy to get a bug, like you're charging the beam, then you get hit, and then suddenly you can aim and hit at the same time. So it's better to decouple everything in states. So yeah, everything is its own state. So here, when you call this function attempt, you send the message, can fly, I want to fly, and then the component actually checks, can you actually fly? So it says can activate, and yeah, in this case here it checks if you have enough energy. Do you actually have enough energy? Otherwise, no, you cannot fly. And yeah, that's a really nice way to just make things very organized and prevent bugs. And yeah, you can actually see something here about an energy stat. So that's another one of the fundamental things that I made to keep things organized, and that's a stat system. So here there are a lot of stats: acceleration X, energy, air acceleration, max speed. Those are all stats. And let's take a look at that stat function, or that stat class. Here you have the stats, and yeah, let's go inside. So the stat has a base value, and then it also has a modifier, so you can actually add a modifier onto the stat. So if we go back to this flight component, you can see start flight here. We can actually add a modifier here on some of the stats. So when you fly, you don't want gravity pulling you down. You want to be a weightless that just feels much nicer if you don't have to fight against gravity. So I add a modifier here, and it adds a skill modifier, 0, so the gravity is gone. And for the max speed here, it adds a modifier with the value of max flight speed, so you can actually override the maximum speed that you would usually have. So yeah, the bulk of the work has been inside that state machine, figuring that out, what's the best way to organize that, and then the stat system. It's really important to get all the fundamentals right, because if you make a mistake here and you have to backtrack to fix things, that's no fun. So yeah, I spent a lot of time on that, and yeah, it's feeling quite fun already. I'm mostly excited about the beam. That's just very fun to shoot and to curve it, and of course flying, doing the somersaults. Yeah, it feels very nice. It doesn't look too nice. Unity is really struggling with running the game. Unity has become so slow. I'm not sure what you're doing, Unity, but yeah, work on that. So that's it for the first devlog. I've been recording so long that my light here is running out of battery. I have to hurry up. But I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you're excited about the game. I'm very excited. I'm so happy to be back making games. Making games is what I'm meant to do. That's truly how I feel. But unfortunately, my body is not agreeing. I am going to physical therapy and stretching every day. But it's already been like this for 10 years, over 10 years. But I hope I hope I can get better somehow. But oh well. I'm gonna keep trying nonetheless, so thanks for watching, and also check out my other YouTube channel with all my travel adventures in Korea and Japan and Vietnam and Thailand. I'll put a link up somewhere here on the screen and in the description. You can check that out. That will be great. You can see where I get all my inspiration from for this game. And if you're still here watching all the way in the end of the video, thanks so much. I really appreciate it. And let's go on this adventure together and see if the Beethoven of game development can make this work. I'm never really not sure if I should call myself like that, but it sounds cool, doesn't it? So, alright, see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.